Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Ichigo awoke his true powers. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name in the description below. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 4, Protectors' Hardships, Solutions, Revelations, Goodbyes. So, what do you think, Urahara-san? Ichigo asked the eccentric shopkeeper, who wore his white bucket hat at all times. Right after he left the Wizards in the 4th Division, Ichigo hurried through the official Senkaman to Urahara's shop, where he met with the said shopkeeper, his assistant Tessai and the goddess of Flash, Yoruchi. He asked them about what he heard at the captain's meeting to find out, if it was true, that he couldn't stay in his body for a while. Urahara for once turned serious. I'm afraid I have to agree with their assumptions, Kurosaki-san. It would be best, however, if you actually tried to get back to your body, and we'll see how will that go. Ichigo grunted in response and turned to Tessai, who was holding his human body. Ichigo inhaled nervously and did the exact same thing he always did when returning to his body. For a few seconds it worked and he was in his human body grinning at Urahara, when an excruciating pain hit him. He gasped and fell on the cold floor, trashing from the pain. Urahara and the others exchanged worried looks, and when he saw a little blood trickling from Ichigo's mouth, he immediately took out his cane. Ichigo was forcefully ejected from his body and was left on the floor, gasping and spitting blood. He opened his eyes and came face to face with worried Yoruchi. Shit! That hurt! He muttered and slowly sat up with Yoruchi supporting him slightly. Ah, should have seen that coming, Urahara said while scratching his head. Ichigo shot him a dirty look. Urahara held up his hands in defense. I expected only a slight pain, but this was little beyond that. From my experiences with you, Kurosaki-san, I should have known it would be worse. It seems that your spiritual energy indeed puts your human body under incredible stress, to the point of creating internal bleeding. I think. Ichigo turned to his body alarmed and noticed that Tessai was already healing it with Kido. I really need to learn how to do that. Kisuke, what now? Yoruchi asked him with sad expression. She too never wanted something like this for Ichigo. Before Urahara attempted to say anything, Ichigo spoke up. When I was talking with Wizards, they mentioned some seal, put on captains and lieutenants when they travel to the world of the living. It prevents them from leaking too much Ryatsu. Can't it be applied on me? He asked Urahara. Said scientist opened his mouth and then closed them. He pondered about the idea for a while. The Wizards did, huh? That means that the captains think that it wouldn't work. Let's see. Come here, Kurosaki-san. He motioned Ichigo to come with him. They walked a little from the group, and when they stopped, Urahara concentrated and put his glowing hand on Ichigo's chest. He started some chant that Ichigo never heard before. Ichigo saw him frown a little, but then he felt a pulse of Ryatsu burning him on skin and felt his senses become somewhat dull and his Ryatsu being forcefully suppressed. He looked at Urahara in surprise and saw him smile with a relief. For a second there I thought it wouldn't work, Urahara said. Ichigo looked at his chest and saw a little tattoo mark right below his left collarbone. Great, another tattoo. So that's the seal, huh? It feels weird, it's as if my powers were under a heavy blanket. Now what? Since it's a success, I can now return to my body and I don't have to stay in Soul Society after all, right? He asked with a grin, but it faded when he saw Urahara frowning. No. I don't think this is a permanent solution. I have a suspicion that the seal will hold for only some time. Maybe even less than an hour. When I was trying to form a seal, I could almost feel your Ryatsu responding. If I'm right, it seems that since you merged with your hollow, your instincts are actively fighting the seal, rapidly weakening him even as we speak. Curious. Urahara replied, slowly and carefully forming his words. Ichigo's shoulders dropped in defeat. He finally received a proof that no great power was without any risks and that every action has its consequences. Ever since his merging with Shirasaki, he was afraid that it would cost him something, that it won't be without sacrifices. He clenched his fists but felt a small hand rubbing his back. He turned to see Yoruchi smiling sadly. "I'm sorry that you have to go through this, Ichigo. It's our fault that we weren't strong enough to fight Aizen ourselves." She put a hand on his lips when he tried to protest. "Yes, it is our fault. But that isn't what I wanted to say. I know that it's hard and that you'll have to stay away from your family and friends for a while, but you can use that time to train, so that you could do what you want to even better. You are a protector, are you not?" She finished encouragingly and managed to create a little smile on his face. She's right. I can't dwell too much on this. I promised myself and Zangetsu that I'll train so that I could be strong enough to protect everyone. It's not like I won't ever see them. Thank you, Yoruchi-san. He thanked her and briefly hugged her, not noticing her surprise at the contact. Urahara coughed lightly with a knowing grin. For now, let's wait for a few minutes and see how will the seal hold. After we determine the duration, during which the seal is holding, we can restore it and add some extra so that you'd be able to return to your body for at least this evening. Yoruchi will stay with you, so that she could restore seals while you're saying goodbyes to your family and friends. Ichigo turned to him. Are you sure it'll be okay? Anohana-san said that my body should be getting my Ryatsu in extra small doses. Urahara pulled out his fan and waved with it, pretending to be hurt. Ah, Kurosaki-san, you don't believe my genius? Ichigo looked at him in disbelief and didn't even bother with an answer. Urahara placed a hand on his heart and cried a little. That hurts, Kurosaki-san. Don't worry. The extra seals will convert your Ryatsu and let it flow out of your body, not into it. It can be done only for a limited amount of time, however. That's why I said it's not a permanent solution. Urahara said, and they sat on the ground, waiting for the seal to break. After almost a full hour, they felt Ichigo's Ryatsu increase to where it was before applying the seal. Tessai looked at the watch. 52 minutes, boss. He informed Urahara, who wrote it down into his notepad. Good. Now, Kurosaki-san. Before we reapply the seals, I need you to raise your Ryatsu to your maximum output and put it into this small and completely harmless crystal cube. Urahara turned to Ichigo with an innocent-looking crystal who looked at it with skepticism. He took it to his hands and looked at Urahara. And what is it for? Ah, it will store an example of your Ryatsu so that I could analyze it and then recreate it and pour it to your body periodically, so that you don't have to visit me every day. Urahara explained happily. Ichigo raised his eyebrows at the scientist and turned away. Where are you going, Ichigo? Yoruchi asked, curious. If I'll have to raise my Ryatsu as high as possible, I must go into Bankai and after that my Resurrection. Not that I don't consider you strong enough, but you shouldn't stand close to me. He briefly informed them and walked away for about 50 meters. Yoruchi raised her own eyebrows and looked at Tessai and Urahara, who just shrugged. Here goes. Ichigo thought and raised his Ryatsu. Bankai. He exploded in black and red Ryatsu and formed a crater around him, from the sheer force of the Ryatsu. The trio looking from nearby widened their eyes at that. They knew that his Ryatsu was raised after his merging, but feeling it in person was something else. Ichigo meanwhile concentrated on his hollow Ryatsu and raised it. Doom them, Lucifer. He said in a slightly distorted voice, and he was engulfed in an even bigger explosion of Ryatsu, now completely red in color. Sheer raw power of his Ryatsu that was swirling around him began to form cracks in nearby boulders. The crater expanded and the air itself began crackling with red sparks, and as he pushed himself to the limits of his Ryatsu, the small stones began floating and slowly disintegrating. Urahara, Yoruchi and Tessai were watching with wide eyes when he said his release command, and suddenly they found themselves being crushed and forced on their knees, breathing heavily. Jesus fucking Christ, he wasn't kidding. Yoruchi thought, trying to move. Meanwhile, Urahara started to feel the terrifying nature of Ichigo's hollow Ryatsu. This really feels scary. Kid's a monster. Look at that, his Ryatsu was even destroying matter around him. He watched the scene in disbelief. Tessai was trying to remember if he ever felt something as heavy as this Ryatsu. Ichigo felt that he was at his maximum and carefully poured small amount of his Ryatsu in the crystal, not knowing if it could contain more. When he was finished, he dropped the pressure, Resurrection, Bankai, and returned to his Shirkai. He turned to others and saw them slowly getting up. He flashed to them. "You guys okay?" he asked in concern. Urahara wiped sweat from his forehead and yelled gleefully. "Of course, Kurosaki-san. That was amazing. Your power level is over 9,000. Ichigo just sweat dropped, along with Tessai and Yoruchi, who smacked the crazy shopkeeper and caused him to drop his hat, making him pout. "That was mean, Yoruchi. Don't pout, you look stupid." She smacked him again. "If you want to make it till night, we should get you those seals and be on our way, Ichigo." She turned to Ichigo, who nodded and walked to Urahara, who began to form multiple seals on him. "How long do you think it will take for my body to adjust, hat and clogs?" Ichigo asked him seriously. Urahara frowned and made some math in his head. "I'd say at least 2 or 3 months, Kurosaki-san, in the best case scenario. While you'll be in Soul Society, I'll have Khan to attend the school for you, and don't worry. I'll make him understand that he should not play around." Urahara replied. "Great, how will I explain it to Yuzu and Karen?" Ichigo sighed and ignored the unspoken warning. If 3 months is the best case scenario and he didn't mention the worst, it must mean. Oh. Just tell them the truth. If you don't know how, ask Ishin, he'll help you explain it. Urahara grinned and then cursed. "Shit. I forgot that he doesn't know about Ishin, sorry old friend." Ichigo, who was listening with half ear, froze and gasped at him. "Why, you mean Gochin knows about this?" But. No words seemed to come out of his mouth anymore as he froze in shock. Yoruchi glared at Urahara, who seemed to shrink a little under her gaze, and she turned to Ichigo. "I'm terribly sorry that you found out about it this way, Ichigo. Ishin was planning to interrupt your fight with Aizen and reveal himself to you, but you held your own and therefore he didn't do it. But he still planned to tell you some things when you were going to come back, however it seems that Mr. Big Mouth here forgot about it." She glared at Urahara again, who smiled apologetically. "The fuck?" was Ichigo's only thought. "We are here, Ichigo," Yoruchi said, but when she didn't hear any response she turned to Ichigo and sighed. Ever since they left the Urahara's shop and went to Kurosaki's clinic, Ichigo had been in deep thoughts. She wondered how was he coping with that new piece of information, but now it was time to confront his family. She poked him slightly in the ribs and saw as he finally looked at his surroundings in surprise. "Huh, we're already here?" Yoruchi sighed and nudged him to go on. Just before he opened the doors he stopped and turned to her. "Just in case, don't stand in front of the doors." He was hoping that his dad won't try his usual surprise kick. He slowly opened the doors and surprisingly, no one was in the hallway. "Hello? Is anybody home?" He yelled and heard a few thuds as his sister came down running through the stairs. "Ichi nii." They both jumped at him and hugged him. He smiled a little and patted their heads. Oi, what got you so worked up? Where's Dad?" "I'm here, Ichigo." Ishin showed himself with unusually serious face, looking at Yoruchi, who nodded at him. Ichigo entangled himself from the hug and looked at his sisters. "Karen, Yuzu, can you see my guest?" he asked hesitantly and saw Karen nod in surprise. I think I see something. It's a little bit blurred, but it looks like somebody with purple hair." "Who is it?" Yuzu said while squinting her eyes. Ichigo pointed at Yoruchi. "This is Shihoin Yoruchi. She's a friend, but she's not from this world. Listen, we need to sit down and talk about something." He ushered his sisters to the kitchen table, noticing the worried look in Karen's eyes as she glanced at Yoruchi. They seated themselves around the table and Ichigo sighed. "There is something I was keeping from you. Karen already suspects, but I never gave her an honest answer. You see, it all started in the evening when our home was attacked and..." Ichigo steeled himself and told them everything from the beginning till the end. He told them about how he met Rukia and who she really was. He explained to them the basics of souls, hollows and Shinigami. How he and Rukia worked together at cleaning the Karakura town from hollows. How she got kidnapped and how he went to save her. He skipped through the details of his fights as he was sure that they were too young to hear something like that. They were good listeners and soon they were gasping when he revealed that Aizen was the one who orchestrated the whole thing. He fast-forwarded to the kidnapping of Inoue and how he decided to save her too. They were so into the story that they didn't even notice Yoruichi restoring the seals on him when it was time. After almost an hour and a half of telling his story, he got to his final fight with Aizen. And then Urahara-san came and sealed him away. He's alive but he's being punished. Ichigo looked at his sisters and saw that Yuzu was openly crying and surprisingly, Karen was too. They stood up and hugged him again. That was too dangerous, Onia-chan. What if something happened to you? Yuzu was scolding him, trying to wipe away her tears. Karen was silent but she was too wiping her tears. Nah, I'm too cool for that. I'm actually called Hero of the Winter War now. He tried to joke and boast but instead got kicked by Karen, while Yuzu giggled a little at their antics. He looked at them again and saw the worry in their eyes. This is breaking my heart. He thought sadly but he knew he had to tell them everything. You're right and I did get hurt. He flinched when they jerked themselves and looked at him with fear. Something happened to me when I was fighting. You remember when we were little and I was always trying to protect you? Well, now I have more people that I want to protect and for that I needed more power. I got it but it had cost me something. He swallowed and continued. I can't stay here, at home for some time, because that power would hurt me badly and it could hurt you too. I have to stay in Soul Society, where I can learn how to use my power properly and I can let my body adjust to the power. He hated himself for telling them this as he saw that they started to cry again. He hugged them both. However, because I can't leave school, there will be someone who will use my body to attend school. He will live here, he'll look like me but won't be me. I trust him and he's a good person. His name is Khan, so be good to him. It's not like I won't ever come back, or I won't stop by sometimes, okay? Just don't cry please. He whispered as he felt his own tears to build up. But I don't want another Onia-chan. I want my Ichi and I. Karen cried, clenching his shirt tightly. Ichigo looked at Isshin desperately. He couldn't take any more of this. For once, Isshin understood him instantly and put a goofy smile on his face. Bah, forget about your stupid and delinquent brother and come to Daddy's chest. He exclaimed and tore his shirt apart, showing them his torso. Karen looked at him in disgust while Yuzu scolded him for bad-mouthing their brother. But it worked and they at least stopped crying. Ichigo sent him a silent thank you. Don't worry about me, girls. I'll be okay and we'll be getting even stronger. You just make sure to keep Gochin here in line while I'm gone and if you ever need help with something, ask Urahara-san. Dad knows him a little so he'll show you where his shop is located. Just be good, okay? You won't even notice it and I'll be back. He smiled at his sisters encouragingly. They smiled a little too when after he briefly hugged them again and ruffled their heads, Isshin took them to their beds. Emotional stress was showing on them and they were getting asleep. Ichigo meanwhile sat on the chair in the kitchen, holding his head in his palms, massaging his temples. Are you okay? Yoruichi asked him. While he was telling the story, she kept herself back, to give them privacy, briefly standing behind him only when restoring seals. She too had some tears built up in her eyes while looking at the heartbreaking goodbye and again, she felt terrible guilt. I'm okay. Ichigo. Isshin had returned and was staring at his son with something akin to concern. Yeah? Ichigo replied without raising his head. I take it that Kasuke managed to spill out that I know him from somewhere and you want to hear the truth. I get it, but Ichigo. I can't tell you everything. Not now. Ichigo's head shot up and glared at his father but Isshin held his gaze. I'm sorry Ichigo, but You'll understand later that information can be a dangerous tool. The less you know, the better you are. Don't worry, someday soon I'll tell you everything, but right now. He sighed and sat on the chair next to Ichigo. He looked a lot older at that moment. I was a Shinigami Ichigo. Long time ago I was born in the afterlife. I was quite a gifted kid and I began training to be a Shinigami very soon. Not long after that, I managed to get a position as a Shinigami. I was being assigned to dangerous missions a lot of time. One time, when I was in the world of the living, I got attacked by an incredibly strong hollow. As I found out later, it was one of the first experiments of Aizen. Ichigo froze at hearing the name of his foe. Dad even knows Aizen? Damn that man, how far did his machinations go? Yes, it was Aizen. I somehow managed to drove him back with a little help, but I got injured quite badly. Your mother happened to be on the scene and she saved my life, but she too got injured. Nothing major, at least at first glance. I returned to Soul Society but I couldn't forget her face. So, I snuck out to the world of the living again to see her, but I found her in bad shape. She got injured by the same hollow that injured me. However, she was a living human and her body got infected with something that was later identified as a hollow pathogen. Isshin grimaced when he noticed a flash of realization on Ichigo's face. With Kasuke's help, we managed to save her, but I had to give up my Shinigami powers and live in this Jigai for the rest of my life. My soul got connected with Masaki's soul and my Shinigami powers that I gave up were keeping the hollow infection on the bay. It was supposed to be like that till her death. Only then would I regain my Shinigami powers. Till that day I was as powerless as human and couldn't even see ghosts. I could, however, feel Ryatsu. I won't bother you with details, but we fell in love and soon after that, you were born. He paused and rubbed his chin. We were extremely happy, but something happened. Thanks to Kasuke, we found out that the infection transferred itself onto our little baby. He grimaced again, memories within him were flooding again. Fortunately, my link to the hollow in Masaki's soul was also somehow duplicated and therefore, my soul was keeping even your hollow asleep too. We fast forward to the day that Masaki died and my link to her was destroyed and my soul was now only suppressing the hollow infection in you. However, after your mother's death, you fell into depression and that's what was feeding your hollow. Because my powers were now focusing solely on you, they were enough to still suppress it. But, you met Kachiki Rukia and you awoke the Shinigami potential passed on you from me. After your training with Urahara you manifested your Zanpakuto. Even then I was able to suppress the hollow inside you that started to get his own appearance in your inner world. He was still asleep, but during your battles in Soul Society you were getting stronger and stronger every minute. In your fight with Kenpachi, your hollow finally manifested itself and in your fight with Byakuya he was awakened and gained a separate entity from your Zangetsu and your own soul. Ever since then, you were in constant struggle with it. It was that moment when he awoke, that my connection to you was completely destroyed. In that moment, I regained my powers. He looked at the stunned Ichigo. Do you see now, Ichigo? Why was Aizen so interested in you? You are something that defies a nature, you are a living human, yet you inherited your Shinigami powers along with hollow powers. You are a perfect hybrid being, capable of transcending every boundary that exists. Along with that, but I can't tell you that now. Ichigo's brain rebooted and he blinked twice. You're telling me. Shit. What about Yuzu and Karen? Ichigo asked in concern. Isshin shook his head. The infection was passed only on to you. Urahara hypothesized that it latched onto first soul that began forming during Masaki's pregnancy. Even after you were born, the hollow was present in Masaki, but it was only a presence, it could no longer transfer to anyone else. Bottom line. We were lucky and Yuzu and Karen inherited only latent ability to manipulate Reisher and see ghosts. Ichigo let out the breath he was holding. At least his sisters were safe. All of this. I need a moment. He shook his head and dived into his mind. He appeared in the world full of skyscrapers. So, you came Ichigo. Zangetsu said when he noticed him. Ichigo spun around and faced him. Is it true? Shirasaki was always there? Zangetsu sighed and jumped from this pole. As I told you many times, I was always with you and Shirasaki was always a part of me. He wasn't a separate being until the shattered shaft. Since then, he was getting stronger and, well, you already know. He blinked behind his sunglasses and walked to Ichigo and put his hand on his wielder's shoulder. But Ichigo, you already accepted him. That's not what's bothering you, is it? It's the unspoken things that your father haven't told you. He left out much information, however I agree with him. It's not the time for you to know everything. Only recently you began to accept who you are. Only recently you restored your resolve. Don't haste for new information that you wouldn't be able to take in. Be satisfied with knowing that while you'll be gone, your sisters and your friends will be in good care. You didn't notice, but your father's Ryatsu was strong. Very strong. He's hiding its true nature very well, but he's stronger than most of the people you've met so far. Zangetsu told him with a serious face, making Ichigo raise his head in surprise. He stared at his Zanpakuto but then smiled. You really know me the best, Zangetsu. Yeah, it's still bugging me, but I guess you are both right. If he doesn't want to tell me, he must have his reasons and I should trust him. I'm surprised to hear that he's that strong, but I guess it's kind of ironic that my moron dad is strong. He chuckled and thanked his Zanpakuto. As he was leaving his inner world, Zangetsu looked up in the sky. Be strong for your sisters. Don't bring the rain again, Ichigo. I hate the rain. Ichigo opened his eyes and came face to face with concerned Isshin. He weakly smiled at him. Don't worry, Dad. I'm not a kid anymore. I have already accepted that the hollow inside me is a part of me, so this kind of revelation is not that groundbreaking to me. However, the fact that I really don't know about your past is, well, you have your reasons and I won't press you. When you're ready and want to talk, I'll listen. Isshin's concern look morphed into a proud one and he smiled widely at him. I don't know how you got so mature, but I'm proud of you, son. I know I haven't been a really good dad, but it seems that you turned out better than I could have ever imagined. He gripped Ichigo's shoulder and wiped away a small tear from his eye. Ichigo chuckled with embarrassment. Stop it, Dad. We both know that you had 3 children to raise after Mom died. I think you did good. Karen and Yuzu are as happy as they can be. Ichigo reassured him, but then he had to dodge a surprise punch. Nice reflex, son. You're right, enough with the soap opera. I'll look after Yuzu and Karen and Kan. You just concentrate on yourself for once. They will wait for you. Now go. You have one more stop to make. Isshin nodded at Yoruichi and let her take his son away. Go, Ichigo. You need to get stronger. There are only few people who can match you with Ryatsu, but Ryatsu itself doesn't matter if you can't control it. There is a storm brewing and you'll be a center of it, and you have to come out of it as a winner, or else, don't let me tell your sisters that they lost another important person, never again. They should be around here. Ichigo walked through the park with Yoruichi behind him. He told his friends beforehand that they were going to meet at the edge of the Karakora's park. This was the second conversation he was not looking forward to. Yoruichi watched him as he sighed and ran his hand through his hair. It seemed that every time he used Resurrection, his hair got longer, almost till his waist, but after that he was able to shorten them with Ryatsu. They were still longer than before, but she told him to let them be. And I was right. He looks loads better. No, bad Yoruichi. You can't think that. You are his mentor, you can't let your thoughts get the better of you. She slapped her cheeks lightly to get her annoying thoughts out of her head. She hated to admit it, but her student was creating a place for himself in her heart. She thanked God, however, that what was she feeling was not love in a romantic sense. It was more of a bond of big sister. But then again, forbidden love, goddammit Yoruichi, you're a bad kitty. She mentally slapped herself. What is wrong with me? She came out of her stupor when she almost bumped into Ichigo, who was, as she realized, not moving and looking firmly in front of himself. She peeked from behind him. In front of him were sitting on the grass Orihime, Sato, Ishida, some girl she recognized as his childhood friend Tatsuki, and two boys, whom she didn't know. Ichigo frowned. Tatsuki, Kigo, Mizuiro, what are you guys doing here? You were not supposed to be here. Kigo and Mizuiro looked at each other and smiled apologetically at him while Tatsuki jumped and tried to punch him in the face, missing him by inches. Hey! What are you doing, Tatsuki? He yelled at her and had to dodge another punch. Yoruchi, however, wasn't as lucky as she wasn't looking at her and felt the full force of the punch. She was forced to turn her head a little and looked at the girl in surprise. Ichigo meanwhile restrained his friend. The hell is your problem, Tatsuki? You okay, Yoruchi-san? Wait. Did you just accidentally hit something, or can you see that person, Tatsuki? He looked down at her and stepped back from her glare. You come here after last time with some purple-haired bimbo and you even say we are not supposed to be here? What the fuck happened to you, Ichigo? You no longer consider us friends? What the fuck am I to you? She wiped a single tear angrily and kicked him in the knee. Ichigo flinched a little, both from the pain and her accusations. He glanced at Yoruchi and noticed that she was unharmed, although little bit angered after being called bimbo. He released Tatsuki from his grip and sighed. Sit down. She looked at him stubbornly and he snapped. I said. Sit down. He yelled and released a little bit of Ryatsu at her. She widened her eyes and quickly sat down. Damn it, the seal is weakening again. I don't remember him being so quick to anger before. Yoruchi thought and quickly walked to him and put a hand on his chest. Ichigo and the others raised their eyebrows. You sit down too, Ichigo, and calm down. You are releasing your Ryatsu and it's weakening the seal significantly. He widened his eyes in surprise and quickly did as she told him to. I didn't even realize I was using Ryatsu. Damn, I really have to learn how to keep my emotions under better control. Sorry about that. He turned to others who were watching him with surprised eyes. Since you two doesn't seem to be surprised by me talking to somebody else, I assume you can see Yoruchi too? He asked Kigo and Mizuiro, who nodded. When did this happen? I see. I'll tell you the short story of what happened. But be warned, some of the things are hard to believe. He saw them nod, along with Tatsuki. So he told them the same story he told his sisters. He got the part when Orihime was kidnapped without interruptions, but after he explained to them how he decided to go and save her, Tatsuki couldn't stay quiet anymore. Why didn't you say that to me earlier? I could have gone too. I could have helped you. I am not someone who can't protect herself. I'm better in karate than you, damn it. She yelled at Ichigo, who was trying to calm himself, as his emotions were again threatening to overwhelm him. Fuck. Tatsuki, you didn't understand any of this. He then took off his shirt, getting a full-blown blush from Orihime and a slightly pink cheeks from Tatsuki. There he goes again with that great body, and that tribal tattoo is making him look even cooler. Yoruchi couldn't help it and nodded appreciatively. What are you doing, idiot? Tatsuki turned her head away. Look at me. Ichigo simply said and waited for her to look at him again. She was trying to avert his eyes, but then she noticed that he was pointing at his chest. Tell me, what do you think this is? He asked her. What do the fuck happened to you? She gasped. Ichigo was pointing at the center of his chest where a huge scar was present. It was the remnant of his fight with Ulquiorra. Even after his injuries were healed, the scar stubbornly stayed as a reminder of what happened to him. After he got back to his human body, the scar itself transferred to it, along with some other minor scars. Others gasped too. Kigo was trying to look brave, Mizuiro was uncomfortable, but Tatsuki was positively horrified. The rest of the group was handling it somewhat better, but they were too shocked. He never showed them that scar before. You want to know what happened to me? I got blasted with an energy beam through my chest. It destroyed my heart, part of my lungs and part of my spine. I died. Only with sheer luck I was able to come back alive. While he explained, Kigo couldn't take it and quickly ran to empty his stomach into the trash bin. Tatsuki was just staring at him with fear, and after a moment, she slid to the ground, holding her head in her hands, shaking all over her body. Ichigo took a pity on her and kneeled in front of her. He softly put a hand on her shoulder. Do you see now, Tatsuki? Do you see what kind of opponents we had to face? I know that you are strong. Exceptionally so. If I were to go against other humans, I'd let you take care of my back, but they weren't human. Oraheim was priceless to them thanks to her powers. Ishida is a Quincy, as I explained, and Chad has his own set of powers too. Even then I didn't want them to get involved. They shouldn't have gone through that. I care about you, Tatsuki, I do very much. That's why I couldn't take you with me. I am strong. Even in that fight I had enough power to obliterate a set of houses in almost one strike, yet I was helpless against that enemy. I'm really sorry for that, Tatsuki. I really am. He finished and gripped her shoulder. She raised her head and he was surprised too, even more tears. She jumped at him and hugged him, silently crying. He looked at others who were watching them uncomfortably and awkwardly patted her back. But that's only half of it. He let her go and finished his story with his final fight with Aizen while putting his shirt back on. I'd be happy to say that this is all, but there is one more thing. Even Oraheim, Ishida, and Chad don't know this. He added, surprising them. Remember how I told you about the fight where I got that scar? Something happened to me. Ishida looked at him with stern look, while Oraheim looked concerned. Go on, what can be worse than that scar? Tatsuki said hesitantly. Ichigo clenched his fists and inhaled deeply. To be able to defeat Aizen, I had to get strong. I did it. I got strong, but maybe too much. Only recently I found out that it brought with itself some side effect. He sighed. For some time I have to stay away from the world of the living. I have to remain in soul society. It may be for 2 months or, in the worst case scenario, forever. There is no real date. It's because I gained too much power, my human body can't cope with it, and the moment I try to get back to it, it starts to break down. Even right now, I am only able to be here with help of Urahara-san and Yoruchi-san, who applied many seals on me, which have to be restored every hour. If the seals would break down without anyone who could restore them, being here with me, I'd probably be laying here trashing in pain. He said and waited for them to understand it. It didn't take long and they gasped in shock. Well, what are you saying, Kuichigo? Oraheim asked with worry. Too much power in my soul would cause my human body to die. He replied honestly and saw tears forming in her eyes. But we found a solution. Urahara-san will get my body adjusted to my power, but it will take at least those 2 months. During that time I will be unable to get back into my body, and that's why I'll be staying in Soul Society. However, I can't stay that long out of school, so Khan will be getting my body and will use it to attend school. I can only hope that you'll make sure he stays out of problems. My dad and my sisters already know that, and we said our goodbyes. I'll come here for a few times to say hello, but I'll be in my spiritual body only. Ichigo tried to reassure his friends, who were looking at the ground in sadness. Damn it, Kurosaki. Ishida cursed mentally and glanced at Oraheim, who were looking defeated. Hey Tatsuki, you okay? Ichigo tried to ask her but got interrupted when she grabbed his collar and looked at him fiercely. I'm okay, and I think I understood it perfectly. Tell me. Where is that bitch? She surprised him with rage that was evident in her eyes. Who are you talking about? He asked her, confused. Oh boy, I think I know where this is heading. Yorushihai thought. Rukia, of course. If that bitch never showed her face here, none of this would happen. You'd still be Ichigo, who's a punk and a normal student of Karakura High School. You wouldn't have to fight death gods, monsters, and I don't know what else. Screw that. That is not your problem, nor your concern. You are human. Why can't you see that? Why? She began pounding on him. "If it weren't for Rukia, I'd be dead along with my family." He yelled back. "If it weren't for her, you'd be here, with me," she said quietly, and then she looked him in the eyes with determination and then absolutely shocked them. She took his head in her hands and smashed her lips against his. "Okay, didn't see that one coming," Yoruchi thought uncomfortably. Ichigo was so shocked he didn't dare to even move. Only after a moment he felt her tongue in his mouth, and to his surprise he was automatically responding. It took him full 10 seconds to realize what was happening, and when he did he blushed furiously and pulled her slightly away from him. "Tatsuki? Well, what are you doing?" he stammered in alarm. She too was blushing furiously. I'm sorry, but I needed a closure. I know that you think of me as a friend, but for some time I thought that I was beginning to see you as something more. If this was the last time I'd see you in a long while, I needed to find out," she told him, fidgeting with her clothes while the rest of the group moved back a little, since they were getting a little bit too uncomfortable. Ichigo's brain finally comprehended the situation and he blinked. "And?" She smiled at him a little. "I do like you, but only as a friend. Very close friend, but nothing more." "Oh, okay." He was unsure what to say to that. He was still trying to get rid of the feeling of being kissed. "So, guys? Anything you want to talk about while we're here?" he asked the rest that came back after a moment. Oh. I want to ask. Where is that lady that was in our school for a few days? You know, that with those huge. Kigo started to rant about some girl whom Ichigo recognized as Ranjiku, and thus creating a little conversation in the group. They talked for next hour about unimportant stuff, trying to forget about the reality for a moment. It was almost an evening when their talk ended and they said their goodbyes. Ichigo walked with them for a while and made his last goodbyes with them at the crossroads, while Tatsuki was warning Kigo and Mizuiro not to tell anyone what they heard and saw that day. "See you later, guys." "I'm sure of it, Kurosaki." Ishida pushed his glasses up his nose. "Don't worry, I'll be training, and when I'll come back, I'll be able to kick your ass into oblivion, Ishida." Ichigo grinned at him cheekily, making Ishida roll his eyes dramatically. Chad waved at him. Ichigo turned to others and noticed that Oraheim was glancing at him a little. He sighed. After what Tatsuki told him, he finally realized what Oraheim wanted from him. He really didn't want to have this kind of conversation. He quickly bid farewell to Kigo and Mizuiro and walked to her. "Listen, Oraheim, come with me for a bit." He took her a few steps away from Tatsuki, who was waiting to walk Oraheim home. "Yes? What is it, Ichigo?" she asked shyly. He ran a hand through his hair and looked directly in her eyes. "Oraheim, I'm sorry if what I think is not true, but do you like me? Like, a lot?" he asked awkwardly. She blushed deeply and looked panicked for a moment, but after a while, she nodded, hiding her face behind her hands. I'm sorry, Oraheim. I never noticed it. This is my first time finding out something like that, so I don't know if I'm responding correctly, but I'll be honest with you. I like you a lot. However, you are like a sister to me. I care about you, but there is no romantic feeling, and I think that you like me as a brother too." He smiled at her sadly when he saw her shoulders drop in defeat. When he mentioned that she liked him as a brother, she raised her head in surprise. "That's not true, He stopped her with shaking head. "Oraheim, you lost your big brother early. Around the same time as I lost my mother. We became friends, and you probably looked up to me, because we've been through similar hurtful moments in our lives. Back then, you didn't know about my mother, but you probably felt it. When you met your brother again as a hollow. It triggered some memories, and it was me who was there with you, and your affection towards your brother passed on to me. I know I'm trying to rationalize it, but it's how I see it." She looked at the ground. I do like you a lot, Kurosaki-kun. Maybe you're right, maybe I like you as my brother, but I just simply don't know. When I see Kurosaki-kun sad, I'm sad too. When you smile, I'm happy too. I'm confused about it, but I'm glad that you at least told me what you feel. Oraheim said with small smile and quickly rubbed her eyes. I won't cry anymore. Ichigo looked at her inside. He knew that she was trying to be strong. Hell, if somebody who I thought I was in love with told me that she loves me like a brother, I'd be probably a mess too. He briefly hugged her and rubbed her back a little, same as he did with Tatsuki. Just remember, I'm here for you. I won't be for some time, but if you ever need anything, contact me and I'll stop by, okay? She smiled and let go of him. He watched as she joined Tatsuki and they both started to walk towards their homes. I hope she'll be okay. So, what did he want to talk about? Tatsuki asked Oraheim as soon as they were out of Ichigo's hearing distance. He told me how he feels about me. Oraheim replied, shocking Tatsuki. So he finally got his balls back? Well, what did he tell you? She asked in anticipation. Well, he likes me, but like a sister. He told me that I like him too as a sibling, in exchange for Sora. Oraheim said with small smile. I'm sorry, Oraheim. Tatsuki gave her a short hug. It's okay, maybe he's right, I don't know for sure. Screw that. Feelings are such a drag. Who need them? I just want to see the poor gal who'll end up as Ichigo's girlfriend. Tatsuki laughed jovially. Oraheim looked at her sadly. I'm sorry too, Tatsuki-chan. I know that you were lying to him. Chapter 5, Party for Hero, Revelations Point. 2. Melancholy of God's Believer. Say, Kurosaki, could we talk for a moment? In my office? Toshiro Hitsugaya asked Ichigo, who only recently came back from the world of the living. Said person raised one of his eyebrows in surprise and shortly nodded. He followed the young captain into 10th Division barracks. White-haired prodigy sat down on his chair and motioned Ichigo to do the same. So, what is it, Toshiro? Ichigo asked curiously and smirked when he noticed a tick mark on Toshiro's head. It's Captain Hitsugaya, dammit. Listen, Kurosaki, does the name Hinamori Momo ring any bells for you? Ichigo squinted a little, trying to remember. I swear I heard it some. Oh. He suddenly remembered. Yeah, she was Aizen's lieutenant in his division, right? He asked Toshiro with a frown. The captain nodded and rubbed his temples. You see, Kurosaki, she was very loyal to him and believed to the final moment that Aizen wasn't a traitor. He hurt her, Kurosaki, he hurt her cruelly. Physically and emotionally. Because of Aizen, I myself. He gripped the table in front of him tightly. In the fight against Aizen, I was under Aizen's illusion and I stabbed her, Kurosaki. She's still in 4th trying to recover, but I just know that she's a wreck. I want to help her, to shield her from the pain she's in, but ever since that incident, I couldn't even look at her without feeling guilty. He went silent, giving Ichigo a moment to digest this information. Ichigo was listening to him in a little shock and he felt bad for the young Shinigami in front of him. You really did fuck things up, Aizen. Poor Toshiro, I can't even begin to understand what he must have felt. Kuro dash. Ichigo. Toshiro continued and Ichigo looked at him in surprise. Toshiro never used his first name before. You were the last person who fought Aizen. Somehow I think that you understood him better than any of us ever did. Most importantly, you are a good person and I want to ask you a personal favor. He inhaled deeply and looked Ichigo in the eyes. I need you to help Momo, Ichigo. She's the most important person to me in whole soul society. I can't bear to watch her suffering, but I can't help her either. Help her get better. Help her to get over Aizen. When she'll wake up, she'll be depressed. Talk to her, be there for her. I will do anything in return, just name it. He stared at Ichigo with pleading eyes, who couldn't help but feel a small tear forming in his eye. Ichigo smiled at him a little. I can try. I only wish one thing in return. Toshiro raised his eyebrow and prepared himself for anything. Just be my friend, Toshiro. Ichigo replied and truly shocked Toshiro, who couldn't help it and felt a small tear too. I was never more right than now. He truly is a great person. Of course. Ichigo. But I'd still like to ask you to call me captain at least in front of my peers. It helps me maintain the respect people have for me. Ichigo shortly nodded and shook his hand. I have one question though. I hope you don't mind. You don't even have to answer. Toshiro looked at him puzzled. Do you love her? Ichigo asked simply and watched as Icy Captain became red as a tomato and started to stutter. What are you talking about? Ichigo waited for a moment and gave him time to cool off. Toshiro dropped his shoulder in defeat and looked at the ground. I'm not sure, but yeah, I probably do. At least I think it's love. It's just complicated. Just please don't mention it to anyone else. Especially Matsumoto. He gulped at the thought of his lieutenant in possession of this information. Ichigo mentally agreed with him. If there was anyone in Siritai who was bad with secrets, it was the lieutenant of 10th Division. You got it. So, when do you think that Hinamori-san will wake up? Toshiro frowned. Well, I hope as soon as possible. You can try to visit her tomorrow. I will be training, since right now, I'm not strong enough to protect her. He replied and Ichigo only nodded. He knew that feeling very well. But now is the time that I should pass a message from Matsumoto, who says that the party for the hero of the Winter War will be in 8th Division barracks. Toshiro said, smirking slightly at Ichigo's new title. Ichigo grimaced a little. You're not going? Toshiro nodded. I'll go, but I need to finish my paperwork first. I should be there in an hour. Ichigo sighed and slowly left. When Ichigo went outside of the office, Toshiro sighed and held his head in his hands. Momo, please let him help you. Ichigo was walking down the streets of Siritai when he realized something. Isn't the 8th Division led by Kairaku-san? He mentally slapped himself. Of course it is. Who'd be a better host for a party if not someone like him? He shook his head. Loud music was a beacon for him, as he was trying to find his way to the party. Ichigo thought of himself as quite the courageous person, but right then, he wasn't feeling very brave. If the voices were any indication, there was already a huge group of people completely wasted. He hoped that he would end up differently. He would remember that thought next morning. The fuck was his only thought when he entered the barracks, which were redesigned to host a party. There was such a mass of bodies present that he was almost certain that the whole Soul Society came that night. Most of them were unknown to him, since they were only non-seated or seated officers. From the few short glances around him, he noticed that from the captains and lieutenants he knew, most of them were already here. It was after somebody noticed Ichigo standing in front of the doors that the shouting began. It's him! It's the hero of the Winter War. Aw man, look at that Zanpakuto. No wonder he kicks ass. He's good, kya. It was the last statement that startled Ichigo and woke him up from his stupor. But it was already late, as he was surrounded by his many fans, who were trying to get his attention. He came face to face with women with stars in their eyes, who managed to fight their way through the crowd and were now screaming with joy at being so close to him. Men were pushed back a little, but they were too trying to get his attention and they wanted him to tell them the story about his victory. Ichigo was at a loss of words. Back in the world of the living, he went few times at the concerts and watched from afar as the singers were jumped by their fans. He always laughed at them. Now he was taking his actions back. Really? What the actual fuck? He jumped a little when he felt someone pinching his butt cheeks and flushed a little. Trying to turn around, he came face to face with another woman, who jumped at him and hugged him. Take me, hero of the Winter War. Take me and ravish me. Ichigo gaped at the woman and shuddered. This was getting out of hands. Is this really happening? When he felt his butt being not pinched but even slapped, he decided that it was really enough and he tried to flash step away. He partially succeeded as he heard sad voices calling him back, but he bumped into another person in the process. Ow, sorry. Rukia? He looked down and saw the petite Shinigami getting up, glaring at him a little. Damn it, Ichigo, what are you made from? You're late. Rukia accused him. Yeah, Tosh. I mean, Captain Hitsugaya wanted to talk. Come quickly, we need to get to the others or I'll get jumped on again. I swear these women are crazy. Ichigo muttered and led her to the bar, where he caught a glimpse of Renji and some other people. Rukia looked at him in surprise. She never heard him calling the young captain in a formal way. She, however, soon forgot about that when she heard the rest of his sentence. More women. I think I need a drink. Maybe it'll make my mouth looser. Ichigo saw her quiet down but said nothing as they walked towards the bar. Ichigo, there you are. Come, drink. Renji welcomed him and gave him a glass full of some liquid. Ichigo frowned and protested. Hey Renji. I'm sorry but I already told Ranjiko-san that you'll drink only beer, nothing stronger, right? Ichigo shuddered when he felt hot breath of Ranjiku on his ear. He quickly turned his head and nodded. She pointed at his glass. Well, Abarai-kun gave you exactly that. She winked at him. Ichigo facepalmed when he realized that Renji was already a little bit drunk and trying to get a view of Ranjiku's cleavage. Ichigo-kun, my boy. How are you this glorious day? Jovial voice of Kayarako greeted him from behind. Is everyone already drunk? Hello, Kayarako-san. Well, screw it, I had better days. I had to say goodbyes to my family and my friends, so you know. His words sobered those around him a little. You know what helps? Drink! Ikaku yelled and raised his own glass. Ichigo looked at the liquid in his glass with suspicion. Seeing nothing fishy, he shrugged and gulped the contents down. He coughed a little, but he haven't felt a burn in his throat. Huh, I guess they really did gave me only a beer. Since you're drinking a beer, you'll need more of that stuff to drown this crappy day. Ranjiku winked at him again and turned to the bar so that she could order him another. Ichigo sighed. I should have known that it wouldn't end just with one beer. And it's a good thing that there will be more of it. He jumped in surprise. Zangetsu? Oh man, don't do that. What do you mean, it's a good thing? Zangetsu sent him an image of him amused. Ichigo, it's over for now. There is peace and you don't have to fight for your survival. You should relax a little. I know that it must sound weird, coming from me, but trust me. Your mind needs something to numb it. Drink. You'll probably feel bad in the morning, but I somehow think that it'll be worth it. Ichigo raised his eyebrow. It was indeed weird for his Zanpakuto to say something like that. I guess I could relax, but I still won't drink anything stronger than beer. As I would expect from you. We'll talk again soon, Ichigo. Zangetsu said and withdrew to Ichigo's inner world. Ichigo shook his head to clear his thoughts. He looked up and noticed that Ranjiku was watching him intently, and when she caught his eyes, she gave him a thumbs up and climbed on top of one of the tables. She whistled loud enough for everyone to notice her and raised her glass. Everyone! It's finally time to raise your glass for the hero of the Winter War, Kurosaki Ichigo, without whom we probably wouldn't be standing here right now. She turned her head to Ichigo and grinned at his embarrassment. Kanpai! She yelled and poured the drink into her mouth. Kanpai! Everyone else yelled and they drank their drinks too. At that moment, a loud music started to play with a new vigor and even louder than before. Come on, Ichigo, you should meet and get to know others too. Ranjiku exclaimed and took Ichigo's arm, dragging him across the barracks, to meet every lieutenant present at the party. And after she kissed me, get it? That frigging tomboy actually kissed me, and she said that she wanted to, what was it? She wanted to find out if she was into me. Ichigo was feeling a little bit dizzy as he was telling the group the incident with Tatsuki that happened when he was saying goodbyes to his friends. The group now consisted mainly of other lieutenants. After Ranjika dragged him along with her, he met Hisagi Shue, Kiraizuru, Nanao Ayase, who followed her captain everywhere, keeping an eye on him, Chiwon Kotetsu and everyone from before. Wow, poor girl, she must have been confused for a long time to do something like that. Nanao commented with pink cheeks from the alcohol. I'm just surprised that the strawberry didn't take his legs and run away as fast as he could. Renji snickered from Ichigo's right, sipping from his glass. Ichigo glared at him and once again, missed the dark look that crossed Rukia's face. And? What did she find out? Kira asked curiously. He found Ichigo's story quite interesting and he almost shed a tear when Ichigo talked about his sisters. What did she find out? Of course she's into him and tried to shag him. Ranjiku exclaimed and giggled at her own shamelessness. No. Of course not. Ichigo yelled scandalized as Nanao vigorously nodded and glared at Ranjiku, who only giggled more. If the way he's telling the story any indication, she probably found out something different. Hisagi commented and swayed a little on his feet when he tried to stand up. Yeah, like Hisagi-san said. She told me that I'm like her best friend. Maybe even closer, but not like boyfriend or whatever. Ichigo confirmed. Most beautiful way of finding out where your heart stands. Yumichika sighed next to Ikiko, who only rolled his eyes and drank another shot of sake. Yeah, well, she almost gave me a heart attack. I mean, what is wrong with women? I don't remember them being so very friendly with me before. Ichigo shook his head and missed how the others dropped on the ground comically. It's because you're now a hero of the Winter War, defeated Aizen and his espada, not to mention you look damn good for a brat. A slightly amused voice surprised them. Ichigo quickly turned around and found himself tightly gripped around his neck, with his face in something warm and soft. He instantly recognized the voice. KKK Kokaku-san? He asked in surprise. Yo brat. How cheeky of you to not visit me in such a long time, don't you think? She asked and grinned evilly at him. I'm sorry, After a few long seconds he realized just where his face was and he blushed. He pushed himself from her breasts. Well, what are you doing, damn it? He asked, trying to regain some of his dignity. Well, from the looks of it, I'm giving your friends a show. She replied with her arms at her hips, making him turn his head to see that most of his male companions were holding their noses, so that they wouldn't bleed. I think you should introduce her, Ichigo. Ichigo jerked himself at another voice. Yoruchi-san? You're here too? Said person came from behind Kukaku and waved at him. Yo. Yes, I dragged Kukaku along, since she whined that she wanted to see you. She smirked when a tick mark appeared on Kukaku's head. I didn't whine, damn it. Ichigo shook his head and coughed a little. He turned to the group and pointed at Kukaku. Guys, this is Kukaku Shiba, a master of fireworks? He glanced nervously at her. The fierce woman gave him thumbs up and sat on the free chair. He glanced at his friends and noticed that they were almost drooling while staring at her. Bunch of horny bastards. I should probably warn them about her personality, but I guess that they should learn that the hard way. Ichigo mentally grinned and pointed at Yoruchi. Well, I think that most of you should already know this one. This is Yoruchi Shihoin, the cat of the devil. He ducked under her swipe, but he couldn't evade her jump. And don't forget to add, the first woman whom you saw naked, Ichigo-kun, don't forget that. She grinned evilly and licked his ear, which earned him a few shocked gasps and few nosebleeds. Ichigo spit his beer around himself. Yoruchi-san! He yelled nervously. That's indecent. Nanao scolded her. Yoruchi just grinned and looked at her. Oh come on, don't try and tell me that you never wanted to play with this orange-haired sex idol. Ichigo's face became beet red and he wanted to shut her up, but no words came out of his mouth, so he just sat there gaping like a fish. He wasn't alone, however, as Nanao did the same thing. My Nanao-chan has grown up. I'm so proud. Kayaraku exclaimed and raised his glass in celebration, only to get bumped on his head, courtesy of his lieutenant. Shut up, I never confirmed that ridiculously indecent thought. She stuck her nose upwards and crossed her arms, which only got her chuckles. Meanwhile, Ichigo finally found his voice, but was interrupted by polite voice. How is everyone this lovely evening? Unohana appeared next to their table, surprising them with her stealth approach. Ichigo glanced at her and immediately flushed when he remembered that incident in 4th Division Barracks, almost 2 days ago. Oh, Retsu, never thought I'd see you here. Kayarako said in surprise, but gulped when she turned to him with her smile still present on her face. Oh, Shunsui, didn't see you there. I couldn't refuse to drink to our hero, could I now? But I'm afraid that's all. I still have some patients that need to be taken care of. She turned to Ichigo and he noticed that her cheeks were little pink. Oh God, she remembered it too, or worse, she's drunk. Speaking of our hero, and he's here. I hope that you won't be drinking heavily tonight, Kurosaki-san. If you had to stay another night in 4th Division, it would be such a shame. She whispered the last word to Ichigo's ear, getting raised eyebrows from few people. He, Unohana? It almost looks like something happened between you and Ichigo. Yoruchi laughed at her own joke, but even she gulped when Unohana turned to her. Shihoin-san, what a pleasure. I'm sorry, but it almost sounded like you were trying to accuse me of something? I'm sure I must have misheard you, right? When Yoruchi remained silent, she approached her and from a smaller distance she asked her again. Right? Yoruchi just quickly nodded and they all watched as Unohana slowly walked away, smiling all the way. Unohana stopped after few steps and tilted her head a little. By the way, even if something happened, I don't think it would be your business, wouldn't it, Shihoin-san? She said and left Yoruchi with slightly widened eyes. All faces turned to Ichigo, who shook his head. You don't want to know, trust me. He said with a hint of fear in his voice. Ichigo. Don't tell me you lost your virginity to her. Yoruchi asked terrified. Yoruchi-san. I get it that you like to tease, but I'm warning you, you will pay for that. Ichigo grinned evilly and started to get up, only for her to push Kokaku on his lap and flash step away, laughing maniacally. What the damn cat? Kokaku cursed, but made no attempt to move herself from Ichigo's lap. Instead she made herself comfortable and grabbed another drink. Oi, that's no fair, Ichigo, you're taking all the hot ones. Runji yelled in irritation and Ikaku only nodded in agreement. Ah, youth. Kayarako thought and poured himself another shot. Too bad brats. You don't look bad, but I'm sorry to inform you that there's no way in hell you'd get this. Kukaku laughed, pointing at herself. Kukaku-san? Do you think you could move? Ichigo asked cautiously. He still remembered her temperament from their first meeting. It wasn't like he didn't think he could handle her, but given circumstances? She turned to him so that he had to raise his head, or else his face would end in her breasts again. No. She simply said and turned to the table, leaving him sputtering and blushing. It was this scene that Ranjiku returned to with another round of drinks. When she noticed Kokaku and Ichigo in their position, she squealed happily and jumped to them. Oh, someone is already teaching Ichigo-kun how to be a man? Ah, Pooh and I wanted to be the one. She pouted and gave the still blushing Ichigo his next beer. Ranjiku-san. Ah, what is it with women? He sighed in defeat. You mean, I'm not good enough to be sitting on you? Kokaku asked with lightning in her eyes. Ichigo widened his eyes and shook his head vehemently. No, no, no. Oi, you're just screwing with me, aren't you? He asked her irritated. She just grinned and tilted her head to his ear. We're not doing that, yet. She whispered to him and overloaded his brain. Seriously, what is it with women these days? They are treating me completely different. Ichigo. Zangetsu made himself known again. Yeah? I still forget how young you are. You clearly don't understand the fact that most women are drawn to strong and confident men, who radiate a special aura of security and kindness around them. Don't forget that you are a savior to them. That helps too. Judging objectively, you are good looking too. Zangetsu replied, further shocking Ichigo. What? Where do you get these thoughts from? Zangetsu only shook his head. Don't worry Ichigo and just go with the flow. His voice faded and Ichigo found himself face to face with slightly angry Rukia, who was staring at him for the past hour, without him noticing. Her glare only intensified itself when Kukaku landed on his lap. What is it, Rukia? He asked quietly, trying not to draw attention. We need to talk. She replied and stood up. He watched her pointing to the dark corner, so he excused himself from the table and followed her. Kukaku watched them leave inside. Up in the trees, Yoruchi grinned. Finally, this will be fun. So? Are you going to tell me what is it? Ichigo asked Rukia, who was shuffling her feet nervously. She looked up at him and gulped. Ichigo. He watched her go silent for a few seconds, then start again. Are you aware of the fact that Tatsuki-san isn't the only girl around you that has some feelings towards you? She asked quietly. Ichigo scratched his head. Yeah. Her head jerked upwards instantly. I realized that Orihime feels something. Actually, after that incident with Tatsuki, I talked to her. She admitted that she loves me, however, I explained to her that I love her too, but like my third sister. Nothing more. I tried to tell her that she loves me as a big brother, but I don't know if I was tactful. It's just, after Tatsuki told me about her feelings, I just knew that since Orihime feels something, it would be best if we talked about it before my departure. He sighed and waited for her reply. I honestly didn't think you'd notice. So, is that the reason why you decided to save her from Hueco Mundo? Well, partly yeah. He frowned. Where is she going with this? If I may ask, why did you try to save me from execution? I know that you said it was because you were in my debt, for giving you an opportunity to save your family, but is that all? She asked nervously. Pretty much. I mean, during those few months we were hunting hollows together I kinda got used to you, and when you were taken by Byakuya, I already considered you as one of my friends and I can't just leave my friend to die. Even if it would be the last thing I'd do. What about your family? If you died during my rescue? She pressed. Ichigo frowned again. I'm missing something. But I didn't. Look, Rukia. I'm not going to apologize for that. I gladly put my life on line for you, but I was confident I'd be able to save you with my life intact. Rukia sighed, this conversation wasn't going the way she wanted to. Do you even realize what does that mean to me? He shook his head. Damn it, he's forcing me to say it directly. Rukia thought angrily. She took out a small bottle with a pure liquid inside it and gulped it down in one turn. Ichigo raised his eyebrows at that but remained silent. That you would sacrifice yourself for me. Ichigo. She inhaled deeply and looked him in the eyes, suddenly swaying a little. I think I'm in love with you. Was the only noise Ichigo made. Up in the trees, Yoruchi didn't dare to move. Rukia clenched her fists. I'm saying I'm in love with you, say something damn it. I'm just, No fucking way. Rukia? He thought and tried to say something but he couldn't form any words. Said person was blushing profusely, but since Ichigo wasn't moving, she decided to repeat after Tatsuki and grabbed him around his collar and rammed her tongue into his mouth. Really, what is it with women these days? Was Ichigo's only thought, as he was too shocked to even move. Well, it was fun but it's unpleasant now. Yoruchi thought in irritation and jumped from the tree. It was a beautiful morning in Siriti. In 4th Division the patients were getting final treatments for the injuries they received in Winter War. In 2nd Division Captain Suefone was already whipping her recruits to do more training, and in 10th Division Captain Hitsugaya Toshiro was finishing his paperwork. He left some of it unfinished as he went to look to the party that happened the night before. In 8th Division barracks, many previously unconscious people were getting up with terrible hangover. Meanwhile, in an undisclosed location, Kurosaki Ichigo, the subject of the last night party, was waking up, discovering that he hated alcohol. Ugh, damn, my head hurts. He opened his eyes, but quickly closed them. There was too much sunlight in the room and his eyes were too sensitive. What the hell happened last night? I can only remember the beginning. He clutched his head with his both hands. Well, you got pretty drunk, Ichigo-kun. He jerked his head up and flinched when a sharp pain shot through his skull. He blinked and noticed a black cat sitting on his chest. Yaruchi-san? What the hell, what happened? He took notice of his surroundings and widened his eyes. Where the fuck are we? He tried to stand up but small explosion halted his attempt. Suddenly, he felt more weight on his chest. As the smoke cleared, he blushed and closed his eyes. Damn it, Yaruchi-san. At least don't do that in the morning. He exclaimed when a completely naked Yaruchi lied on him. She grinned deviously and closed on him, letting her breasts fall on his chest. Don't be mean now. You don't like it? She asked huskily and rubbed herself on him a little. His eyes widened. Jesus woman. Have you no shame? He blushed and tried to break free from her grip. Yaruchi shifted herself and suddenly grinned even more. Oh, is it just regular morning or are you so happy to see me? She whispered and let her thighs to get entangled with his. Ichigo quickly realized what she meant by that, and when their legs touched he flinched and tried to push her away. He propped himself on the bed, but then he felt something soft and squishy under his right palm. He gave it a light grip and when he heard a small moan he froze with a feeling of dread. Oh boy, don't tell me. You're so loud in the morning. Came a tired voice of Kukaku from his right. Ichigo turned his head slightly and blushed more. Keikokaku-san, what is going on for fuck's sake? He exclaimed, finally waking Kukaku up. She propped herself on the bed and yawned. Shut yoop. You're too loud. When she realized the situation she was in at last, she blinked and looked down. Her face flushed and she grabbed the blanket and quickly covered herself. She glared at Ichigo who held his hands up. I'm sorry. He sputtered and averted his eyes. Kukaku wildly looked away from his eyes and noticed Yaruchi, who, unlike her, made no attempt to cover herself and remained lying on Ichigo. Yaruchi, you better start explaining what is going on. How in the hell did we end up in my bed? She yelled, making Ichigo finally find out just where he was. We're in Shiba's house? Thank God Ganju isn't here. Wait. I should be more worried about why am I here. Yaruchi wanted to tease them more, but decided to spare them. Well, after Rukia confessed to Ichigo here. Ichigo's eyes shot up and he looked at her in surprise. Wait, I remember. He said and then sighed. He was going to have unpleasant conversation with yet another woman. Continue. Kukaku said with narrowed eyes. Well, I don't know what Rukia drank just a moment before confessing, but it quickly overwhelmed her, and after a few seconds of kissing the hotshot, she fainted. Some of it must have been in her mouth and since she stuck her tongue in Ichigo's throat he drank some of it himself and it left him a bit drunk. Ichigo raised his eyebrow along with Kukaku. I don't remember that. I took Rukia to her barracks and left her to sleep it off and then me and Ichigo returned to others and we drank more. It's a bit hazy to me too, but you started to get too drunk, so Kukaku when I took you here and well, maybe someone mentioned that we should sleep together just in case. Yaruchi smirked with no embarrassment on her face whatsoever. Yeah? Ichigo reacted in surprise. Kukaku was breathing heavily, trying to calm herself. Yaruchi rolled her eyes. Come on. Nobody lost their virginity, we just snogged a little that's all. She snickered when Ichigo and Kukaku both jerked their heads towards her in shock. We did what? You mean? With both of you. Ichigo managed to say. Kukaku's mouth twitched in anger with a blush on her cheeks, as she glared at Yoruchi, who shook her head in amusement. "You're such prudes. You're only cousins, so it does not count as ink." She didn't finish as Kukaku grabbed her. "We are what?" Kukaku yelled at her. Yoruchi looked at Ichigo in surprise. "Why are you so surprised? Didn't Ishin told you?" She widened her eyes when she realized her mistake. "Shit. He only said he was a Shinigami. He never mentioned Shibas. Damn, I'm as bad as Kasuke." Wait, you are telling me that we're family?" Ichigo gasped and pointed his shaking finger at Kukaku, who was at loss of words. Yeah?" Yoruiki admitted nervously. "Uncle Ishin is alive?" Kukaku asked with tears in her eyes, surprising Ichigo. "Go-chin is really your uncle?" he asked, and he was suddenly crushed by a bone-breaking hug, courtesy of Kukaku, who was crying and hugging the life out of him. "I'm so happy. I thought I lost almost my whole family." Ichigo's eyes softened and he hugged her back. But he quickly had to dodge a swipe at his chin. That damn bastard. How could he not say anything? "If I knew you were a family, I could have helped you more when we first met." Kukaku raised her shaking fist and growled. She then turned to Yoruchi, who was slowly trying to get away. "And you? You, damn pussycat. You knew about this the whole time and yet you were silent. Do you know how bad I had it when they told me that uncle died during his mission?" Yoruchi smiled nervously and tried to calm Kukaku down. "Come on, Kaka-chan. You know that I'd tell you if it was my decision. Ishin himself didn't want anyone to know. He's aware that he messed up, but if you knew some things about him, you could have faced execution along with him." She reasoned, when she saw that Kukaku was still deciding whether to smack her down or not. "He never told even me. His own son, so I know how you must feel." Ichigo tried to calm her down too. He was too, a little bit shaken about this revelation. "When I think about it, I should have realized it from the signs, my familiar appearance to their dead brother, me butting head with Ganju as soon as we met, crazy temperament of Kukaku, Gochin craziness exactly fits this family." "I know, it's just," Kukaku said, wiping away her tears. She looked at herself and sighed. "We should clean ourselves. I want to know more about Ishin and your family. And Yoruchi, don't tell anyone about what happened last night, or else I'll take my fireworks and you'll be shooting them from your precious ass." She threatened Yoruchi, who only laughed nervously. "Damn right, to think that the first time I end up practically naked with a woman in a bed would be with my cousin." Ichigo groaned. After they cleaned up and got dressed, Ichigo and Yoruchi joined Kukaku in her lounge and sat down in front of her. She offered them some tea, as she herself wasn't feeling too good and the sight of sake evoked a gag reflex in her. "So, tell me everything. I hear that you have 2 little sisters. I'd love to see them someday. Start at the first thing you remember." She smiled uncharacteristically softly at him and motioned him to start. Ichigo sighed. It was the 3rd or 4th time in 2 days that he was going to tell someone his story, but this time, it was going to be even longer. So he started when he was little and when he was already protecting his sisters from bullies or anything else. She saw him smile fondly when he mentioned his mother. It didn't take long, however, when she gasped, as he told her how she died in that rainy evening. She was happy, however, that he managed to forgive himself for that incident. He told her stories about him fighting against the idiots, who considered his orange hair weird. How he had to live through the fact that most of the people considered him to be a delinquent. It took him almost 2 hours till he got to the night when he met Rukia, and from that point, his story took fast pace. He described his fight in Soul Society in more details, as he already mentioned them shortly during his stay after he rescued Rukia. Then Oraheim got taken, and not so long after that, he managed to defeat Aizen. She bumped him on the head for trying to save everyone, but deep down, she was incredibly proud of him. He ended his story with how he found out about him not being able to return to his human bod, his goodbyes to family and friends. So young, yet so much weight is already on his shoulders. Kukaku smiled sadly and hugged him again. "I'm still angry at you, Yoruchi, but on the other hand I'm very happy that I found my cousin." I understand that if Uncle haven't told anyone about him he must have his reasons, but I still don't like it. With him, we could raise Shiba's clan reputation and we could be again one of the noble clans. I won't press him, but I won't wait forever. Tell him that. She turned to Ichigo again and sipped her tea. Now, I'm sure you know nothing about this side of your family, the Shibas. We were once one of noble families. Ichigo shifted himself to comfortable position, as he was sure this would be at least as long as his story. It was almost evening, when Kukaku finally finished talking about the Shibas and Ichigo's head was almost ringing with too much information. As he was on his way out, his newfound cousin convinced him to stay at her household during his forced leave from the world of the living. She wouldn't hear about him staying anywhere else. He wouldn't admit it, but Ichigo was grateful to her. At first he was afraid that he wouldn't have anywhere to stay, but after witnessing the party, his concerns took a 180-degree turn and made him actually worried about being snatched away by some fan. He left Yoruichi with Kukaku, since they wanted to catch up a little too. While he was walking towards the Siritii and trying to feel the light breeze blowing around him, he remembered that he wanted to talk to Rukia about her confession. She really did surprise me. I never got the feeling that she felt that way. At least with Oraheim it was quite obvious, now that I think about it. But Rukia? No. To be honest, Ichigo, she did share with you her spiritual powers, and for the short time you were using her Zanpakuto, however in sealed state. It can easily create a strong bond. Zangetsu surprised him with his insight and made Ichigo stop for a second and sigh. I guess I can understand. Wait. I was using her Sori no Shirayuki? He wondered. Yes, but most of the time she was asleep as she wasn't a part of your soul and you had no idea how to wake her up. She was quite a beautiful lady. Zangetsu admitted, and Ichigo grinned. What's this, Zangetsu? You're noticing women. Apocalypse must be coming. He thought cheekily. Zangetsu only snorted in amusement. The pot calling the kettle black, Ichigo? Touché. Ichigo shook his head with a small smile. Ever since he merged with Shirasaki and made his promise with Zangetsu, their relationship was getting better every day. After a few minutes of walking, he reached the 13th Division barracks. He stopped a random Shinigami inside and asked him about Rukia. The seated officer gasped when he noticed who was talking to him and immediately bowed. I'm sorry, Kurosaki-sama, but Lieutenant Kuchiki took a free day and is spending her time with Captain Kuchiki in Kuchiki Manor. Ichigo ran a hand through his hair and frowned. It's okay, and you can call me Ichigo, I don't really care for honorifics. Man in front of him gasped and nodded furiously, then quickly disappeared. Really, what am I? A celebrity? He scratched his chin and thought about his next course of action. I could always try and go to the manor and call her out, but something tells me that I don't want to disturb her time with Byakuya. I don't know how close they got after Aizen defected, but if she already told him that she confessed. I'm really in no mood for Senbonzakura. Suddenly, an image of Toshiro appeared in his mind. Oh right. I promised Toshiro I'd stop by 4th and visit Hinamori-san. He turned in the right direction and prayed that he wouldn't meet the 4th Division captain. Good evening, Kurosaki-san. Kind voice of Unohana Retsu welcomed Ichigo in the 4th Division barracks. And that's why we can't have nice things. Ichigo thought bitterly and tried to stay focused. Ah, hello Unohana-san. Could you tell me where is the room of Hinamori Momo? Ichigo asked her nervously. Unohana frowned and her smile disappeared. Why would you want to know that, Kurosaki-san? She asked seriously. Ichigo shifted his feet. Well, Captain Hitsugaya wanted me to visit her and try talking to her. He's convinced that she needs someone who could understand her, and going by his words, he's not worthy in this moment. Unohana's face lit up a little and warmth filled her eyes. Yes, that's very thoughtful of Captain Hitsugaya. Follow me, Kurosaki-san. She led him through the barracks to the end of the long hallway. Ichigo noticed the sign "Intensive Care" on the doors that she was pointing at. You can find her inside. She woke up just few hours ago and she's rather depressed after she got the news about the war.
Unohana smiled sadly and motioned him to go in.
First thing he noticed, when he walked inside the room, was the oppressive atmosphere radiating from the bed, where a small figure lied, curled in the ball, crying silently. He slowly walked to the free chair next to the bed and sat down, waiting for her to notice him. As he sat down, her eyes opened and she turned her head towards her visitor. When she realized who it was, her eyes widened in fear and she crawled back under her blanket.
"Do you know who I am, Hinamori-san?"
Ichigo asked quietly, concerned with her initial reaction. She nodded and pointed at him with shaking finger.
"Are you here to kill me as well?"
she asked in terrified voice, shocking Ichigo, who jumped from his chair.
"What? No. Why would I want to kill you?" he asked in dismay. She blinked. "Because you killed Captain Aizen and now you're here to get rid of me too," she whispered.
Ichigo clenched his fists in anger, but tried to calm down, when he noticed that she backed from him again.
He inhaled deeply and sat down again.
"I don't know who told you such bullshit, but I didn't kill Aizen. I merely weakened him and after that, he was sealed.
Right now he's in prison, awaiting his punishment."
Ichigo watched with a frown as Hinamori's face lit up a little with happiness.
"But Hinamori-san, I know that we don't know each other very well, but let me say, do you really think you should be happy that he's alive? Aren't you more concerned about your other friends?"
He widened his eyes when he saw her face showed anger. "How dare you say something like that about Captain Aizen?
He was only trying to do right thing. He must have had a very good excuse for his actions," she yelled.
Ichigo almost instantly replied back in anger, but he managed to stop himself. "Calm down, she's lost without Aizen, you can't blame her." He sighed and dropped his head.
"Hinamori-san, tell me, how long have you known Aizen?"
She blinked in surprise at his defeated tone and tried to remember. "I think I met him along with Aburikuan and Kirakuan when we were on one mission, just before we graduated from Shino's academy. He, along with Captain Ikamaru and Captain Tosen, saved us from some huge hollows,"
she replied. "I see, you must have been terrified, right? Being only in academy and yet you were being attacked, with no way of defending yourself?"
He watched her nod a little. "You know, the night I first became a Shinigami, I was terrified too.
Hollow attacked my home, my dad and my sisters.
When I ran downstairs and saw a big monster, holding my little sister in his hands, I was scared to death.
Like you, I was saved by someone else."
"Yes, by Kuchiki-san." He smiled a little at her and nodded.
"Yes, Rukia.
But what saved me wasn't the fact that she gave me her own powers to defend myself and beat that hollow down. She saved me with her encouraging words.
It was a long time since someone told me something like that. Do you know that my mom was killed by a hollow when I was a kid?"
She widened her eyes and put a hand in front of her mouth.
"Yeah. It's sad.
She was the person I loved the most. After I lost her, I started to get protective of my remaining family. I wished that my sisters would never have to cry anymore.
I wanted strength to do so.
Rukia gave me that, both with her Shinigami powers and her words.
Just like Aizen helped you too."
Hinamori felt a tear in her eye and mumbled her agreement.
"Yes. I was so happy," she whispered.
"He made you feel safe, he protected you from harm and was always there for you, wasn't he?" He watched as her lip trembled.
"It's okay, Hinamori-san. I'm not judging you here, not condemning you. Every single person needs someone like that in their life. I had my mother, you had Aizen. There is nothing wrong with that."
He smiled at her encouragingly.
"Why are you telling me this? Why aren't you trying to tell me to hate him, to spit on his image, like everyone else?"
She cried and clenched her blanket.
"Because others don't understand the bond you had with him. It doesn't matter what the others say.
He did terrible things after he betrayed the Soul Society openly. He hurt your friends, he hurt you. I know that you already realize that and I'm not here to enjoy seeing you get drowned in guilt.
He shifted his chair closer to the bed. I admit, I hate Aizen for what he did to my friends. Hell, after I heard what he did to you, I hate him even for that. But that's me, you knew him longer than I did. Even if it was only a facade, he took care of you for a long time. She nodded in tears and hugged herself. Do you know that I have something I call a hidden ability? When I cross blades with someone, I can read what's in their hearts. Most of the time, I realize it after the battle is over, but the feeling remains. When I fought Byakuya at the Sokayako Hill, I felt his inner conflict he had in his heart. He wanted to save Rukia with all his might, but his responsibilities as noble clan leader gripped him too tightly and he was in the middle with nothing he could do. That's why I think I won. Because he desperately wanted for somebody to appear that could do what he couldn't do. To save Rukia, his pride, and the only remainder of his dead wife. Ichigo closed his eyes and sighed. Even before that, I met and crossed blades with Ikemara Jin. I knew right then and there that I could never really like the man. It's not his appearance, it was because I couldn't read his heart. It was as if he fought me, but his heart was already fighting someone else. During my fight with Aizen, I learned that I was right. For past 100 years, he was fighting against his hatred towards Aizen. He was trying to stop himself from trying to kill him every day he was with him. I don't think that after such a long time, his mind is still intact. He's not crazy, but it'll take a long time before he's healed. Hinamori was listening to him carefully, wiping away her tears with a blanket. At my last fight with Aizen, I finally understood what was in his heart. Do you know what it was, Hinamori-san? She shook her head. Solitude. Hinamori widened her eyes in surprise. From his birth he knew he was special. He was stronger than everybody else. Do you know what happens to that kind of people? They are alone for most of their life. Others fear them, can't understand them. I think that he spent all of his life as a Shinigami in a search for someone who was standing on the same level as he was. In short, I think he was searching for a friend. For someone who could understand him, who could be with him without being afraid of him. In the end his intentions became clouded with having too much power from Hogyoku. From what I heard he wanted to do something with the Soul King and frankly, I have no idea what he meant by that, but for now I'm standing behind what I said. His actions are inexcusable but in the end, he is only a sad and misunderstood person. Ichigo stopped for a moment and sighed again. I don't want you to hate him for what he did. Rather I want you to have a closure. Having only good memories about him is fine, but you have to come with terms that that's the only thing they are, only memories. You need to look forward, cast away your fears and doubts. Be strong, as there are many people who care about you, love you. They are worried sick about you and they don't want to see you suffer anymore. Toshiro still can't forgive himself for the pain he put you through even if it wasn't his fault. He can't even look at you without feeling guilty. Same as me, he wants to protect people he cares about the most. Hinamori trembled and looked at him. Why are you doing this? Why are you trying to help me? Ichigo grinned a little. Because Toshiro asked me to and because I know that you deserve to be happy. This is not the only time I'll visit you. I'll come by again and again, till you'll feel better. That's what friends are for, right Hinamori-san? He gave her a thumbs up but quickly panicked when she bursted into tears and cried openly. He reached to pat her a little, but she grabbed him and hugged him fiercely, crying all over his clothes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. She repeated. Ichigo's eyes softened and he hugged her back a little. It's okay Hinamori-san. Why don't you tell me more about your memories with him? Or anything you want to talk about. I won't leave until I see at least one small smile. Momo, you can call me Momo. She said in quiet voice making Ichigo smile. Okay, Momo-san, what would you like to talk about? He asked warmly. What do you know? I actually managed to do something well. Ichigo thought and focused when he saw that Momo started to talk. That wraps up this part of What If Ichigo Awoke His True Powers. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned.
If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well.
See you in the next one.